So here we are again. I have a candle as a backdrop because, it looks better than I do. And in any case, it's what I want to say that might be important, not how I look or what happens when you put up shimmering things. Candle will do. I was thinking about the commentary at the last few days. If anyone lives in Ireland, they know that asylum has become the buzzword. There are protests and counter-protests. And anyone who protests against asylum is now called, far right. The people who protest claim that they're just right so far. And, there seems to be a big amount of people in the middle who don't really know or care. But I've been listening carefully to what the commentariat tells us to do. All those people who comment on it in the media and in the papers, online. And they claim that immigration and asylum, the way it is now, is a fact of life, and there is nothing we can do about it. We just have to accept it and live with it. I suppose, to have an argument if that was for the next month or even the next year. But what happens if the amount of people that's coming in now continues for decades to come? Will it not reach a stage where someone will have to stop it? I mean, we have finite resources, and they're stretched now to breaking point. Our own poor are everywhere. Our young are leaving because they can't live here. They can't afford to rent or just to live, I suppose. And the homeless people, it's like a plague. They're everywhere, indoors, in shop fronts, in shrubberies and parks, up lanes. I went to a protest meeting last week in Newtown, Mount Kennedy, and I couldn't believe the amount of people that sleep in rough round Busaras. Okay, it was early in the morning. I've never seen anything like that. There's a very major police station across the road, Store Street, and the people who work there, the top commissioners, they don't seem to care. There's a social welfare office in Busaras, and the top people working there, they don't seem to care. The people in Busaras don't seem to care. So how could we continue this? Just saying yes, 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 and accepting the vast number of people who are coming. On the Brendan O'Connor show, probably one of the most listened to shows on Irish radio, one of our top economists, Dan O'Brien, using statistics he got from the Eurostat, the European Statistics Agency, he pointed out that 250,000 people came to live in Ireland last year. In 1 year, 250,000 non-nationals came. There's only 5 million of us. Tonight, Grip Media have reported that the government paid 2.1 billion to house asylum seekers last year. In 1 year, 2.1 billion. We should bear in mind that when we have a budget in Ireland, it usually, if things are going well and if we're lucky, it usually raises about 3 billion. So the last budget that everyone was talking about and arguing over and discussing was almost totally wiped out just by asylum last year. So how on earth could it go on for decades? What sort of future would we have? And supposing three men got frozen, well, supposing we did have to say enough, no more, we can't do it. It's impossible in 10 years. That will mean 20 million euros just to house people. Perhaps another of 250,000 people that we'll have to deal with. 250,000 people that will make things 250,000 times worse than our own poor. Is this sane? Can this model be the model of sanity, or is it the model of insanity? I would ask people to think about this. Just ask yourself, what happens if this keeps continuing, as we are told it will? And as we're told, we must accept it. But supposing we must accept it, just for another 10 years, can you imagine the way Ireland is going to be then? The social problems that we have now, magnified, multiplied, perhaps by 250,000, if we're lucky, that is. It seems to me that this is going to grow, grow, grow. And there's only one way to stop it. One way, no 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways. There is just one way to get this stopped. And that is to close the borders. Believe it or not, that's the model we had since time started. Think about this, please. Think about decades to come. I'll be gone. Most of yous will be gone. But what about our children and our grandchildren? What sort of country are we going to leave them?